guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be doing my February reading wrap up. So I read a total of 10 books for February, so I'm going to try and make this quick, but I would grab a warm or cold beverage and sit back because I read some really great things and I have a lot to talk about. First order of business, I am still doing my part 2 vlog for my 5-star reading challenge that was being done for February, and I'm continuing it into March. So there'll be spoilers for that vlog in this video about the last couple of books that I read. Just kind of keep that in mind. That's why the video is not out yet. I'm a little lax on filming the last part of the month. I'm still doing my monthly challenges where I'm trying to do 5 or 6 certain goals every month. Again, I hit all of them this month except for the new release. I did not read a new release, but I think I hit all of the other ones. So I read 3 physical books this month, which is pretty good. I haven't done that in a while. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to finish some series by physically reading. So I'm saving like all of my physical reads for finishing off series, except for I did one extra one this month for the most part. So one big challenge that I'm doing is I'm trying to cut my unfinished series list at least in half. At the beginning of the year I had 47 unfinished series, trying to cut that in half, but also not start too many new series. I am kind of keeping the list separate of series I've started this year versus last year, so I can specifically work on that previous year's list, if that makes sense. And I have a lot of books that I only have like 1 book left in the series, but I'll put the picture up here. So this is where I'm at so far. I'm at 5 of 47 series. So I think I read 2 of these this month, something like that. Slowly but surely chipping away. One of the physical books I finished this month finally was Ski Weekend by Rekta Cross. Hope I'm saying that right. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. I found her on Instagram last year and saw her talking about Ski Weekend. She has a really fun Instagram account. She's very bright and bubbly and cute. So make sure to go to check her out at the same name. And I decided to read her debut book, Ski Weekend. This is a YA thriller where I think there are 5 kids that are going on a ski trip and their car breaks down and they basically have to kind of survive in the wilderness. I didn't love this one, unfortunately, and I feel really bad because I have a small connection with the author, so I never want to like talk bad about new authors or anything like that, and I am a pretty easy to please reader overall. This one just didn't quite work for me. Couple of reasons why. This definitely has a very strong young adult feel. I'm not a young adult. I know that. I read mostly young adult, but there are certain books that I feel like are geared specifically towards young adults and not just a general audience with a younger character in mind, if that makes sense. So this one has a lot of like high school drama and language and conversations and things like that, mainly because it's not set in a fantasy world or a sci-fi world. I don't personally read a lot of young adult contemporary for this reason. Like I don't like the cattiness and things like that, which we'll get to. So I had another book like this. So it had a lot of conversations between the characters about things that happened in the past and a lot of like fights and drama and things like that, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. It also wasn't very fast-paced or super survival-y until more towards the end. I felt like it was more about getting to know the characters like really intensely and what's happened in their past, which for some people that works really well. It just didn't work that well for me. I really did like the ending of it, and I'm curious to check out more things that she has written, but this was just a 3-star for me. Then I finished 2 series. So I read Dark Water. This is the final book in the Siren trilogy by Trisha Rayborn. This is a much older young adult series. It's a mermaid series. The first book being Siren. We're following our main character. She's at her family home. They're in like a small islandy coastal town, and her sister dies, and there's all this mystery around it. Everyone thinks that she has killed herself. This is not a spoiler. This is the synopsis for the first book. They think her sister's killed herself. She knows that she hasn't or believes that she hasn't, and she kind of tries to solve this mystery, and there's magical mermaidy things that happen. I really loved the first book. I've read it twice, and I really enjoyed the second book. It would be a fabulous Halloween read. This one was weird. Like the first half of the book, I wasn't entirely sure like what the plot was for this one, because some things kind of wrapped up in the second one, and I guess we were just kind of back with the characters. I understood more towards like the last 70 pages or so. I didn't love this one. I think I gave it 3 stars. I still like her writing and I still enjoy the series as a whole, but this was like a pretty big letdown considering how much I loved the first two. So just something to keep in mind. Then I finished Elegy by Amanda Hocking. This is the final book in a mermaid quartet, mermaid siren quartet from Amanda Hocking. So bringing it back to the young adult cattiness, which is something very common in older YA books. So the first book, which is Wake, is following two sisters, and basically one of them gets caught up in some siren mermaidy drama, and they're in this town and they kind of have to like deal with these siren girls, and the siren girls are very catty and like mean girl popular types, which again, I don't love. I didn't mind it in the first three books. Like, I didn't love it, but I was still enjoying them because I just enjoy a coastal setting. I enjoy the mermaid lore. There's a lot of Greek mythology in here, which was really fun. I really liked the male characters. There's two main male characters. They're like the love interest in the first book that I enjoyed. And I just had a really great ride, and there's a couple of like fight scenes that were really good, which I was not expecting, because these girls are also like can change into birds as well as mermaids, which is what sirens technically can do. And so there's like fight scenes when they change and stuff like that. I understand why this is not a very well liked series. I still really enjoyed the first three just because I love mermaid books and I can kind of keep an open mind and just like read it for what it is. This one was a big struggle. First of all, it's almost 535 pages and I physically read it. And the first two I did on audio, the last two I physically read. It took forever. Like, I just don't understand, again, why this was so long. It took a while for the plot to get going. One of the side plots between one of the siren characters and one of the guys I did not like. It was just kind of ridiculous and weird. It was weird. And the ending, again, was really good for this one. The ending wrapped it up fairly nicely. Overall, enjoyed the series. I don't know if I'd highly recommend past the third book because this one was rough, but I'm really glad I finished it. I got it done. I probably will keep them on my shelves just to keep the series as a whole. This was a 3-star. Again, I finished a 500-page book, so I'm excited. Then we started some audiobooks. Okay, so I'm gonna link all the narrators down here below. Some of them I remember their names, some of them I don't. So we'll just put them all right here. So for February, my audiobooks, for the most part, were geared toward me reading 5-star books, like other people's 5-star books, people's favorites of last year. There were a couple threw in here just because I thought that I would really love them, or because I had a buddy read them, so we'll talk about those. Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. I finally did it. I really loved it. I talk about this in my 5-star TBR reading vlog part 1. I'll link that up here in the cards for you guys. This is part of Carrie Maniscalco's new series, and I really, really enjoyed it a lot. I understand why some people are not liking it, but I just had a great time with it. So this one is narrated by Marissa Callan, who did a fabulous job. I actually listened to something from her that I talked about in my January wrap-up that I didn't enjoy quite as much, but I loved this one. The audiobook especially, I feel like, is what is making the difference for those of us that really enjoyed the book versus not entirely loving it. The audiobook has like some slight musical things added. It's got some different changes in her voice. Like at one point, she's like whispering while she's telling a myth. It is so creepy and fabulous, would be perfect for the fall. So the synopsis for this is two sisters, one brutal murder, a quest for vengeance that will unleash hell itself, and an intoxicating romance. Emilia and her twin sister Victoria are strega, witches who live secretly among the humans, avoiding notice and persecution. One night, Victoria misses dinner with her family's renowned Sicilian restaurant. Emilia soon finds the body of her beloved twin desecrated beyond belief. She is devastated. Emilia sets out to find her sister's killer and seek vengeance at any cost, even if it means using dark magic that has long been forbidden. So in here we also have a 7 deadly sins theme that I don't want to give away, but I loved it. The way she used the 7 deadly sins was brilliant. I loved the magic in here. I loved the sisters and talking about their bond, and I loved the romance, even though it wasn't super heavy on the romance. It was like, it was there, and I feel like it's gonna pick up as the books carry on. I love that there was such a heavy, like, magical, enchanting world, whereas Stalking Jack the Ripper, her other series, is very much more like mysterious and scientific, and it has some fantastical elements, but it's not like this one. I was very, very impressed with the differences between the two. So this was a 4-star read for me. Wasn't quite a 5-star, dragged just a little tiny bit in parts, but I really liked it and I feel like the next two are going to be amazing. Okay, then I finished another series. So I did 3 this month. Shades of Earth by Beth Revis. I did this one on audiobook. I don't remember the narrators, but I'll link them down here. So this one is the final book in a space sci-fi trilogy. I know I could have waited to read this for Galaxy-a-thon, but I didn't want to. I kind of wanted to start some new things and wrap some other series up. So the first book is Across the Universe, and I've talked about this a couple of times now because I've been recommending it in different videos. I'll link some of my recommendation videos up here in the cards. But the first book, you're following Amy and her parents, and they are getting cryogenically frozen to board a spaceship to go to a new planet that's 300 years away. And they're describing like how they're getting frozen, and it's really intense in the beginning. And then basically what happens is 50 years before they get to their destination, somebody wakes Amy up. And so she wakes up and she's on the ship, and there's like whole new crew members and things because the crew members that she boarded with had children, trained them to run the ship. And so when she wakes up, everybody on the ship has only known life on this ship. And it's very bizarre. Some things have changed. It's so good. I love this series. This was a fabulous conclusion. This one, again, was a 4-star. I think they were all 4 stars for me. I might have given 5 to the first one. I love this trilogy. It was so much fun. I loved them being on the spaceship. I loved this one because it had some different elements in here and some major twists and turns. The audiobooks are really great, but I feel like the physical books would be amazing as well. I'm very sad that this cover doesn't match the other covers that I had because they changed it, but I loved it. It's such a great trilogy. It's really fascinating, and it would be really good for Galaxy-a-thon if you need like a last-minute series to add in. Then I listened to War of the Cards by Colleen Oakes. This one was narrated by Moira Quirk, who was absolutely fantastic. I love her. So this trilogy like really took me out of surprise. So I read Queen of Hearts last year in the fall, and I was like, oh yeah, that was a fun retelling. It's supposed to be like a back history of the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, and I love a good villainous backstory. And I was like, yeah, that was really great. And then I read the second one last month because I was like wanting to wrap up some series, and I was like, wow, that was like really great. Like, it really surprised me how much I enjoyed it. I was like, wow. First book was like a 3.5, and then the next book was a 4-star, and I was like, huh. Then I read this one, first 5-star of the year. I mean, it blew me away. The ending, the brutalness, what I thought was happening was not entirely what was happening. It was so great. This has one of the best written, like, battle fight scenes, like for such short books. Like the audios are 7 hours. I think they're like 300 pages. It was absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to read more from Colleen Oakes. I was just so blown away by how much I loved it and how much it like pulled at my heartstrings, and I just wasn't expecting things, and the brutalness of the story and the fight scenes, and just, oh, it was so good, and like so much to do with like family and friendship and loyalty, and oh, it was really good. I don't want to say too much. It's not as Alice in Wonderland-y as a lot of the other things that I have read, but it was just like overall like a really great fantasy and a really good backstory as well. I highly recommend it. I feel like it's super, super underrated, and you should definitely check out the series, Queen of Hearts being book 1, then Blood of Wonderland, and then War of Cards. 5 stars for this one, probably 4 stars overall for the entire series. Maybe 5? I don't know. I feel like this is one I'm going to reread because I really, really loved it. I had myself a little journey. So I picked up We Hunt the Flame because this was on a couple people's 5-star reads of last year. So I did it for my 5-star reading challenge. And my friend JJ wanted to buddy read it with me. I had a really hard time with this one. So the narrators are Fiona Hardingham and I think Steve West. And Fiona is one of my favorites ever. And Steve I like, but sometimes he can be a little boring. I talked about this in the second part of my 5-star reading vlog, which will come out here pretty soon if it's not out already. I got lost in this one. There is so much world building and so much information and so many like unique names of like people and cities and magic systems and all that kind of stuff that I just didn't pay close enough attention, and honestly I had like almost no idea what was happening. And I could tell when I got to the ending that it was like brutal and like intense and really important, but I just didn't hit me fully like it would have if I had really known what was going on. So I did something I don't ever do, and I started this over. on audiobook. I never do that. I never ever do that. Because I was like, I want to be able to review it properly and know for sure whether I want to keep the book, and I don't want it to sit on my shelves for years and me be like, oh yeah, I need to reread that. So I reread this. So my game plan was, I did this via audio and I listened to 1 to 2 hours a day for like 10 days. Because it's like a 15-hour, but I listened at a faster speed. And I just made sure that while I was listening, I was like doing a mundane task instead of anything that I had to think about at all. So like pulling weeds or doing the dishes. And I really focused. And I missed so much that first time. There's so much detail and things. Like at one point, I think I said this in my vlog, I texted my friend JJ, and she actually wound up DNFing it. And I was like, wow, I missed a lot about the witches in here. And she texted me back and said, wait, there were witches? There are so many witches in here, and I barely knew that there were witches. It was like the most bizarre thing. I don't know if I just missed enough at one point that I just kind of zoned out, but she did the same thing. So upon rereading, I still am giving this 3.5 stars. The writing's very good. The world building's good, but I feel like it's just so easy to get lost. And I feel like even though you're getting a ton of world building and a lot of information about the characters, not a lot happens in the actual plot until the very, very end, which a lot happens and is good. And I feel like the second one has the potential to be really great, but this was a lot. So if you decide to go into it, go in really slow and take your time, absorb the world. If you're not into slow books or like super detailed books, don't read this one. Also, me and my friend Brittany were talking about how there's like this weird thing happening, because I read like a couple books like this month with newer releases, because I think this came out last year, where it's a thing where like the beginning is like slow and kind of information heavy, and then the very end is like really good and like intense and all at once in your face, which very few books can actually pull off. So I don't know what's going on. But then I buddy read Enchante with my friend Brittany. For Christmas, I gave her 12 months of buddy reads, so I bought 12 books I thought we both would like, wrapped them up, and each month she's opening a book, and this was this month's because I figured it would be kind of romantic, because I knew this was set in Paris. I knew it had something to do kind of romancy, at least I thought it was. Okay, first of all, I believe one of my favorite narrators narrates it. I'll put her down here. Loved her. Justine Eyre. She's fabulous. Great accent. This book is so beautiful. It has like a big beautiful map. Look at the, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice that. Look at this poster. How fabulous is that? This is set during the French Revolution, where Marie Antoinette, all of that stuff. I liked the atmosphere, but this book, I literally did not understand what the plot was until like, again, like the last 50 pages. Those last 50 pages were very good, but it kind of just spun around in circles and it was kind of boring. And I literally, like, I understood some things that were happening and some things were fast paced and some things weren't. There wasn't as much romance as I expected there to be. So this is like when the smallpox kills her parents, 17-year-old Camille must find a way to provide for her beloved younger sister. While managing their volatile brother, relying on magic, Camille painstakingly turns scraps of metal into money to buy the food and medicine they need. But when the coins won't hold their shape and her brother disappears with the family savings, Camille pursues a richer, more perilous scheme at the glittering court of Marie Antoinette. So she gets into like this kind of gambling, high court thing. This had potential to be like almost like a Carval type style book, but I just felt like it kind of spun around and around and around. And the ending I really did love, so that kept it at a 3-star for me. I don't think I'm gonna read the next one though, because I heard people liked it even less. I will check out something else from Gita though, because I think this was her debut. The writing was pretty. It's such a pretty book, and I'm really sad now that I know that it has that beautiful cover on it, but I probably will be unhauling this one. Okay, then I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Finally. So, this I read for part of my 5-star video. I did not read Enchante for that. And this one was on like everybody's freaking 5-star list from 2021. And like people that I didn't think had the same reading taste love this book. So this is V.E. Schwab's adult book. I don't want to say a lot because I feel like not knowing a lot is better. It's just one of those books that you just want to go in and enjoy. This was fabulous. The narrator was incredible. I can't remember. Again, I think it was one of my favorites. I'll put her right here. Again, this has a France setting to begin with. I've been having like a French theme this year because I had Enchante, I did Grim Lovelies last month, this one, and then I think I had one other one that had something French in it, so it was really interesting. So, in a moment of desperation, a young woman named Adeline meets a dangerous stranger and makes a terrible mistake. Doesn't tell you anything, but basically she makes a deal with a dark god and things kind of spin out of control from there. This is not a super fast-paced book. You're following her life and her journey as she's living. She kind of has to live like a gypsy, and for various reasons that I don't want to tell you. It was magical, it was enchanting, it was lovely, it was romantic, it was thought-provoking. It is a little tiny bit on the slower side, but in like the best way possible. I really loved it. I only wish that it had a better cover. So I feel like this cover does not do it justice, but super enjoyed and was my second 5-star read of the month. And then lastly, I squeezed in, you know, just real quick, Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood from Sarah J. Maas. I went into a longer detail about this in my 5-star reading vlog, which will be out soon, part 2. Had similar troubles with this one that I did some of the other ones. Narrator is Elizabeth Evans. The beginning part gives you a lot of detailed information. You don't have to pay as close of attention as you do with We Hunt the Flame, but there is so much information, there's so much world building, which I do appreciate and I don't mind a slower burn, but I felt like this one was a little bit too long. I feel like it didn't need to be that long. It wouldn't have hurt anything for it to be shorter. I'm not against a long book, but it needs to be long for a reason. And it was not entirely what I was expecting. So you're following Bryce Quinlan, and she has the perfect life, working all day and partying all night until a demon murdered her closest friends, leaving her bereft, wounded, and alone. When the accused is behind bars, but the crimes start up again, Bryce finds herself at the heart of an investigation. She'll do whatever it takes to avenge their death. So basically it's a murder mystery, which I was not expecting. And in case you don't know, this is Sarah J. Maas' first book in her new adult series. This is very, very adult, new adult, not appropriate for young adults, in my opinion, depending on the young adult. I talked about in my vlog, one thing I really did not like and that bumped the star rating down was there is a lot of cussing and a lot of crude language. I said this, and I'll just kind of repeat what I said. I don't mind if there's cussing. I cuss occasionally, but when there's a lot and when every single character cusses, including the narrator who's telling the story, is like there's cussing just in the descriptions of what is happening, it feels kind of lazy to me because it feels like the characters don't have their own unique personality traits because they're all doing it and they're all doing it in like the same way and the humor is the same. And so I didn't like that. It kind of ground on my nerves a little bit. It's one reason I don't read a ton of adult books. It's just one of the reasons. I do read adult books and I do love them occasionally. Invisible Life, fabulous. Some of my favorite books are adult books, but I'm very particular because there's usually like a lot of cussing. There's usually like darker topics in a way that I don't like. So I'm usually very particular. My friends really wanted to read this with me, so I buddy read this with my friend JJ, so reread for her. And the first 3/4 of this book, I didn't dislike it other than the cussing, but I wasn't like loving it either. I was just kind of along for the ride. I kind of go in with an open mind even if things are like super hyped. I don't go in thinking like, well, we'll see how good you are, book. I just kind of want to enjoy everything. The last part of this book was phenomenal. Like really great. Like I will probably reread the last part via audio before I dive into the next one, just like the last 2 hours of the audiobook. Gave this a 4-star because the writing was good, the world building was good, and the ending was really great. But just keep in mind, it's slower. We've got a lot of cussing in there. I don't want to push you away from it, but I also want you to go in with maybe not as high of expectations. The audio is very helpful. I listened at 2.0 speed, so I got through it faster because it was a 23-hour audiobook and I was kind of stressed about that because I wanted to get a lot of things done at the end of the month. But I finished it and I'm proud of myself. This is the longest book that I've listened to this year. Longest one I physically read was Lord of Shadows, but I'm glad to have it finished. I don't see myself loving this quite as much as everybody else, but we'll see what the future holds. Sometimes the next books make me love things more and more, so still gave it 4 stars. Okay, you guys, that is it for my February reading wrap up. I had a great reading month so far. 2022 is going good. I'm really enjoying a lot of the things I'm reading, and I'm getting a lot of things accomplished. I feel like reading some really hyped books, finishing up some series, doing some great things. Let me know what you guys read in February down below in the comments. Let me know what your favorite reads of the month were. Let me know if you read any of these and you want to chat about them with me. Be sure and follow me on Instagram at The Bright Side Girl for bookish and non-bookish things, and I will see you guys next time on The Bright Side.